Welcome back to West Texas View.
Before the break, Judy was telling us about how she was really motivated to make sure that we had the education and support for AIDS victims out there. But go back to after your brother died, or during the time he was very, very sick in his final days, both you and your mom contracted cancer, and the doctor said that it was probably due to the stress you were under.
Exactly. The doctors said that both of them were rare cancers. And in fact, mine's rare enough that I'm not considered cured after 5 years. It's been since 1988, and I still have to go every single year to undergo cancer tests. And I tell the kids this story. My mother wasn't as lucky as me. She died a short time after my brother. I tell them this story to help illustrate to them how their decisions, if that doctor was right, that means because of my brother's one wrong choice after his wife left him and he was so depressed, means I had to go through this and my mother died. You know, he wouldn't have hurt us on purpose for anything in this world, but his decision and us having to watch him suffer and go blind and lose his mind and all that he went through, it did hurt us drastically. And so,
but it hurt your whole family because you had
family.
siblings.
I lost my brother, I lost my mother. I had to go through cancer while taking care of my brother in our home and watching our mother I have one sister left, and we're very close, and you know, but I'd love to have my mother back and my brother, and so they have to know, the kids have to know how their decisions today are some of the most, if not the most important decisions they'll ever make in their life. I tell them, I hold my one finger up a lot and I say, you have just one life. I whisper it. And I get them to think, I said, you have one life, one future, and one wrong choice now, and you may never see that future. You may never meet that one right person made for you, and have all the dreams come true. If you don't make right decisions now. And I tell them, you don't realize it, but you hold in the very palm of your hand with every choice and decision you make today. Yes, I will, or no, I won't. Not just your one life, but also the lives of the people who love you. Because if they had to watch you suffer like we did my brother, they could get sick like my mother and I did. They could even die like my mother did.
And but the way that it grew, as soon as you organized it, the way it grew was just phenomenal.
It was phenomenal. All I ever wanted to do, 6 months after my brother died, I was led to start a support group for families, so that other families would have someone to talk to, because we didn't, and maybe they wouldn't get sick like my mother and I did. But on night one, people with HIV and AIDS came, and it threw us for a loop until the minister helping me, we looked at each other and said, duh, God sent them. Obviously, they're supposed to be here. So I believe that MAAS belongs to God. A lot of people through the years call it Judy Warren's organization. It's not mine. It belongs to God. I give him all the honor and credit.
You were just his instrument.
I was his instrument, and he gave me a voice. Until then, I'd always been a people pleaser and shy and scary. Never could speak in front of anyone. But I was actually asked, after I started that group, I was actually asked, and I never faulted them because they had a situation, by the leaders of my church to take my group out of the church, because people were finding out we were meeting in there and where they would be and their children would be 6 days later, and they were calling in and saying, you get her out,
they're going to infect my whole
we're
family.
Not coming back. And so one of the ministers, he's passed on now, but he came to my house and just showed up one day, and he said, we don't know what to do. We've got the janitors have gone on strike. They don't want to come in and breathe the air that y'all have been in, and so we want you to take your group over to a bank building and until we can figure this out. And I was more appalled than I've ever been in my life, being a people pleaser and scared to be in public and everything. But I believe that was a pivotal moment in my life. I believe that moment was when God gave me a voice, because I heard a voice come out of my mouth to this man that I loved, who was so supportive and wonderful. All the ministers and the leaders in that church were. But I said, no. And he said, what? And I said, no. And I literally was almost like, who said that? And I said, if I'm forced to take my group out of this church, it won't be to a bank building, it'll be to another church, and I'll be going with it. And then I almost fainted. And he said, no, no, no. He said, we're not doing that. He said, you just stay put. He said, but you come to our next staff meeting and you talk to our staff. And I said, no. I was like Peter, who denied Jesus 3 times. I said, no, I can't do that. I don't speak to people. And he said, you can and you will. And I went, and I was scared to death. My heart was beating out of my chest. And the head of the janitors was sitting at the opposite end of the long table where we were. And I took things to read. I thought, you know, they'll just touch on this. Well, they turned the whole meeting over to me. And by the time I got through, the janitor said, head of the janitors said, housekeeping said, well, that's all I needed to hear, I'm fine. And he left. And a woman in charge of the junior high came up. She was just sobbing, and she said, my group needs to hear what you're saying, and come and speak to them. And I said, no. I said, no, absolutely not. I said, I don't speak to groups. She said, you just did, and they need to hear. So I went, and it went beautifully. And in that group was a high school girl that wasn't supposed to be in there, who heard me, and she came up afterwards and she said, I'm worried about my friends. I go to Trinity School. She said, they need to hear what you're saying. If I set it up with the headmistress, will you come? I said, no. No, I will not. She said, and then I thought, she can't set it up, not then in Trinity School or in any school. And I said, I laughingly said, you set it up, I'll come. She did, I went, I've been going into schools ever since.
And seeing the difference that it makes.
Oh.
We're going to have to take a break. We'll be back in just a minute. And I want Preston and Judy to talk about some of the real life experiences that they've had in their dealings with young people and with AIDS victims. We'll see you in just a minute.
Stay tuned. West Texas View will be right back.